Hello everyone, this is our last topic, topic number 5 for Unit 3. The topic today is environmental control. So probably you are wondering what is environmental control is all about. We will discuss this in a little bit more details soon. Okay? Specific learning outcomes. Number one, to demonstrate a role in a healthcare team and incorporate engineering and work practice controls to eliminate or isolate the hazards in the workplace. Number two, to analyze the predisposing factors to the development of infections to include contact precautions and respiratory precautions. And then we have apply environmental infection control to provide a safer work environment. Okay, so as introduction, infection control strategies and engineering controls shall be implemented as effective as possible to prevent any opportunistic or environmentally related infections in immunocompromised population. So we probably have some target population group, which is the immunocompromised populations, but it's actually applies to everyone. Okay, so let's look at the aspects in environmental control. The first one is air, second one is water, the third one is environmental services, number four, environmental sampling, number five, laundry and bedding, number six, animals in healthcare facilities, and number seven, medical waste. Okay, so these are the components in environmental control, considering the infection prevention and control. Okay, so let's look at one by one. The first one is air. So for the air, we are trying to minimize or prevent any spread of airborne infectious disease via droplet nuclei in a form of indirect transmission. So the droplet nuclei are actually the residuals of droplets, and when it is suspended in the air, the size can be the particle size could be ranging from 1 to 5 micrometer. These particles actually can contain potentially viable microorganisms, have a protected coat of dry secretions. It can lingers or remain suspended in the air and also can be transported over long distances throughout the building, for example, the building ventilation system. So it can be transported from one room to another room at a great distance. Okay, so that's about the air. Looking at this diagrams just to show you how the rooms are prepared for such control. This is definitely for any airborne suspected patients or any positive airborne patients that we call negative pressure air room. So when we do a treatment inside this room, the air is filtered and returned to the open air. Okay, and to enter this room there are a few things that need to be done, throughout the doors, control doors. If you can see here, the HEPAs or the filtration of the air system here. So this is quite a special room that is available mostly in the hospitals or in any healthcare facilities that can treat patient for any airborne disease. Okay, this is just to show you the one that I just talked just now, the airborne infections isolation room, or we call it AII room. So these AII rooms designed to prevent the spread of droplet nuclei expelled by a patient with TB diseases particularly, but can be any um, uh, diseases that transmitted by the droplets, okay, especially the COVID-19. All rooms have the following characteristics. One, negative pressure relative to other parts of the facility. The negative pressure can actually cause the air to flow from the corridors into the AII room. So it means that the room pressure does not go out, but the air from the corridors will comes in. Okay, so air cannot escape to the other parts of the facility when the door is closed and the ventilation system is operating properly. All right, so this room equipped with a HEPA, or special high efficiency air filter, that removes almost 99.97% of the droplet nuclei, okay, before it's returned to the general circulation. Okay, so looking at this table, the disease risk is airborne infection, for example, Legionella, avian influenza, SARS, tuberculosis, perhaps also the COVID-19. So what are the prevention measures that we can take is one, ventilation, space available per patient, spacings of bed, or now we do use physical distance, from others, use of separate rooms for highly vulnerable or infectious patients, use of masks, and correct incineration of waste. Okay, so these are the preventive measures that we take for the airborne infections. Okay, so that is the aspects in environmental control. Okay, the second one is water. Moist environments and aqueous solutions in healthcare settings have a potential to serve as reservoirs for any waterborne microorganisms. Okay, so previously we learned about the airborne disease. Now we're going to go and look at the waterborne microorganism. Okay. So, aspects in environmental control for water, the modes of transmission for waterborne infections include direct contact, which is required for hydrotherapy, which is the pool, injections of water through consuming contaminated ice, perhaps, indirect contact transmission, for example, these improperly reprocessed medical device, inhalation of aerosols dispersed from water source. This is more or less related to dentistry. And last but not least, aspiration of contaminated water, which is us as well. Okay, so those who are not wearing masks can aspirate this contaminated water or aerosols. All right. These are the examples of the water usage in the healthcare. So some hospital they have hydrotherapy tanks and pools for the patients for physiotherapy perhaps, and then they have dialysis water quality and dialysate. They have dental unit water line which is related to us, ice machines and ice itself, and then miscellaneous medical and dental equipment connected to the main water system, which is most likely our dental unit water line as well, and also the water for we use for the hand pieces and scalers. Okay. Okay. For this environmental services, the next one is environmental services. So the point here that we need to know is every facility must thoroughly clean its environment to prevent it from developing into a reservoir for pathogens. So normally if you look at our clinic, it is cleaned regularly at least once in the morning, in the afternoon, and before we go back home in the evening. So it has to be cleaned at all times. And the cleaning needs vary by facility. and are assessed by a team of experts means that we have to know each of the facility areas, what type of cleaning need to be done, what type of agents, and all those. Okay. These experts that is cleaning up our facility are responsible for providing leadership, establishing effective cleaning protocols, preparing regular cleaning schedules, writing policies and procedures, selecting all the appropriate cleaning agents and equipment is very important. Even the mop that we use in the clinic has different types. So the different types designate by the color of the mop. The red goes to clinic, the yellow go to the toilet, the green goes to the normal doors, normal corridors and other rooms. Okay, so these are the color coding that we use for the mop as well as other cleaning agents. Okay, the next one is environmental sampling, which is we take the sample for us to measure or to look at the risks involved in our facility. So the first one that we use is air. We take the air sampling. We have done this in our clinic. Water that we use all every day, environmental surface. This is very relevant to dentistry. Okay, let's move on. Aspects in environmental control. Again, we will look at the laundry and bedding. For the linen handling involves collection of the dirty linen. We are using our own clinical gown. So once we use it, we have to put in the dirty linen basket so we can send it or transport it to the CSSU to be cleaned. Okay, so this is one of the aspects in the linen handling. All right. And to process the dirty linen, including sorting, washing, drying, and folding the linen, and then later on is storage before it being used again. All right. Animals. Animals can be found in the healthcare facilities. We need to be aware of this. If you are working in a bigger facilities, we might encounter animals in our clinic. Okay, especially in overseas, they have a lot of patients using animal as a helper. Okay, so animals can serve as sources of zoonotic pathogens that could potentially infect patients and healthcare workers, and we need measures to be taken to prevent these transmission of zoonotic infections. Um, Exposures with these animals can occur either through direct contact when an infected animal or its body substances and secretions, or indirect contact with infectious materials on equipment, instruments, surfaces, or supplies. Okay. Animals could be found in the healthcare facilities due to several reasons, as I mentioned earlier. One, the animal research unit within the healthcare facility. Most of our hospitals, especially in the university-based hospital, they probably have the animal research unit somewhere in the building, and in that particular lab, they have this animal unit. So they're probably bringing in some types of animals. So that could be one of the potential hazards to the patients and or all the workers. Okay. Number two, animal assisted activities, animal assisted therapy, and resident animals. Okay, so what does it mean by animal assisted activities or therapy? Some of our patients are receiving some types of therapy using animals, okay, especially for cognitive behavior therapy. Sometimes they do use animals. Psychology also they have used animals to treat the patients. Okay, one of the rehab that is available. What about the resident animals? Resident animals is not the like cows or goats living in the hospital. No, some hospital they do have fishes. They do have some sort of like a display animal inside it, so that could be one of the potential hazards to our patients and us as well. Okay. Service animals. Okay, so some patients bring dogs as a service animal. Patients like blind patients, they don't see, so they bring animals to guide them for walk or to mobilize, to guide them from one place to another place. So they use this service animals. Not very common in Malaysia, but in overseas, this is quite common. Okay, so these dogs from outside can actually bring these zoonotic infections to the hospital. So we have to be careful as well about this. All right. And last but not least, animals as patients in human healthcare facilities. This is quite rare anyway, but sometimes in rural hospitals, sometimes patient they bring animals to the hospital, which is a human hospital. So I mean, this has a great potential to spread the zoonotic infections to human. Okay. The most practical approach to we're talking about the medical waste now. The most practical approach to medical waste management is to identify waste that represent a sufficient potential risk of causing infection during handling and disposal, and for which some precautions likely are prudent. So we will be talking about these more details in an next unit, which is the medical waste topic in the next unit. Um, so I'm not going to talk more about this where I can discuss with you in details later on. Okay. All right. That's about the regulated medical waste. I think that's all for now. And we'll be seeing you again or talking to you again in the next unit. All right. Thank you.